Good morning, everybody. This is take number 3 this morning. I'm having some technical difficulties, but um, I hope you guys are doing well. And your test yesterday went well, and scores are good anyways. For those of you that did not take the test yesterday for some reason, some of you checked in but didn't take the test for whatever reason. So please do that. I'm going to turn the test on this morning from 9:30 to 11:30. So make sure you get to that test. If that doesn't work for you, reach out to me today so we can get that wrapped up. Along with any other late assignments, don't hesitate to reach out if you need help. Electric bill being the main one because it's in the test category. So make sure you get that turned in a timely fashion so we don't run into getting late and I need grades in and whatever. So. All right, we're starting the sound unit today, and that'll wrap up our term and our school year for us with a test next week on Thursday. A couple of things that you'll encounter in your reading is if we were in session, we would be using a tuning fork as our sound generator. Okay, and this is a pretty vivid example of what is necessary for sound to be produced. You have to have a vibrating object for sound to be produced. So this tuning fork, the tines of the tuning fork vibrate this way, back and forth, at whatever frequency that tuning fork is, 256 hertz, for example. That's back and forth 256 times every second. So, which shows you have to have something vibrate in order for sound to be produced. You also have to have a medium in order for sound to travel. You don't have to have a medium per se for another sound to be produced. You have to have a vibrating object for sound to be produced, but you have to have a medium. So what happens is the molecules in that medium, let's say it's a gas or whatever, get compressed, and then they get spread out or rarefied, and then they get compressed, and then they get spread out as the tines move that way. Then the tines move to the right and the air gets compressed. So this is a longitudinal, or also sometimes called a compression wave. Okay. The medium could be a solid, a liquid, or a gas. The speed of the sound is actually faster in a solid, and the speed is actually slower in a gas, because the molecules in a solid are closer together by nature, which makes it a solid, and the molecules are farther apart in a gas, and the time delay for one molecule to bump into another molecule in a gas is more noticeable, so therefore the speed is slower, where there's very little time delay for one molecule to bump into another molecule for that sound to propagate. So speed is faster in a solid and slower in a gas, and liquid being the middle. In one of the videos you're going to watch today, the crash course video, which I know you really like, hopefully you like, some of them are pretty good, but she talks about this intensity scale being measured. She starts out with picowatts and watts and bells. We're just focusing on decibels, and you don't need to know the math equation to derive a decibel. But she'll go into it, and some of you the math people might appreciate that. But the decibel level is a logarithmic scale. And in your book, there will be a table with a bunch of different decibel levels. But what's important to note is, let's say we had a sound here at 20 decibels and another sound here at 40 decibels. And you might say, well, 40 decibels is twice as loud as 20 decibels. The number is twice as big, but the sound intensity is not. For every 10 decibels is a 10 times factor louder. So this is 10 times louder from 20 to 30, another 10 times louder from 30 to 40. So 10 times 10 is 100 times louder when you go from 20 to 40. It's an increase of 100 times in sound intensity, which is really important to know from the standpoint of you really need to be cautious with your hearing not to expose yourself to long, loud sounds, really pronounced sounds. If you're on the trap shooting team, you wear earmuffs. If you